Story.
Story time.
Story.
Yeah.
Story.
Themes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Anime Club. Today, we're going to be talking about the story of Goblin Slayer, which is broken down into what I'd say is approximately 4 arcs over the course of 12 episodes, some longer than others. And there are 2 slice-of-life episodes, essentially, that are a lot more kind of lighthearted and more doing normal things.
Yeah.
I didn't answer that. I was just yawning.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
That wasn't even a yawn to make a point. That was just a yawn.
Oh my fucking God,
I'm
stop it.
contracting the disease.
Stop it.
Okay, so how do the arcs go by and what do we call them?
I personally call the first arc, the priestess and the goblin slayer.
Yeah, where it's mainly just those two.
Yeah, those two interacting for a couple of episodes. 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
They hang out, interact, go on a couple missions. He saves her in that first episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a good introduction to the two of them. We get to see her, and she kind of goes from, idealistic to super scared, and then more to a determined kind of character who's like, I will go with Goblin Slayer. And Goblin Slayer is kind of this solid rock through all this.
Yeah.
Goblin Slayer himself, I think, his story doesn't really get a whole lot of development outside of flashbacks until a little later.
Yeah.
I'd say the biggest development bits come in the Venice arc.
Yeah, where they're all over there, with the sword maiden and everything.
Yeah, and so the second arc is the one where he meets the rest of his regular party.
Yeah,
Lizard Man,
High Elf,
and Dwarf. And by the way, these are actually their names.
God, it's stupid.
They
well, actually, no,
names.
they do actually hit... Oh, wait, actually, or maybe I was looking at their voice actor
I think
names.
you're looking at the voice actor, but they're actually just called by their titles.
Yeah.
Well, any kind of name is
Goblin Slayer is literally just called Goblin Slayer in the name, so...
Yeah, but they also call High Elf, and the Dwarf is just Dwarf.
I don't know. I prefer Orkbull.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so mad about that, right? So this is, heavily based on Lord of the Rings and D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And in neither Lord of the Rings or D&D is a goblin and orc. A goblin and an orc are 2 entirely different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. You pointed out the easy-to-notice fact that this is not D&D.
I'm just mad. That bothered me a little bit every time they called him Orkbolg.
Orkbolg.
Alright, so the second arc is, them meeting the whole party. Mm-hmm. And we get a lot of, jovial interactions between the 3 of them, and then trying to include Goblin Slayer and Priestess. And in these 2 episodes, it seems a lot like Goblin Slayer can't really... He has a lot of trouble joining in to kind of the fun bits and the teasing.
Yeah.
Because he's not used to having a party. So we're kind of seeing the formation of, adventurers coming together.
Well, yeah, and you can kind of tell that, obviously, just because of, Goblin Slayer's, whole, essentially career of his goblin killing, he's been used to, working alone, knowing what he can do, what he expects, and everything like that. So now that this whole party thing is kind of a bit of a wrench for him, and at least in terms of, the episode progression, it's kind of, vaguely stated about there in bits and pieces in between the dialogue, where, it's pretty clear that Priestess and Goblin Slayer have been, interacting with each other for about, a month or 2 or so.
It's been a little while.
It's been a little while in between the episode before these 2 kind of finally before the rest of the party finally comes together. And it all kind of happens very suddenly for Goblin Slayer, so I can kind of understand, why he's a bit more off-put by it, especially in the party settings.
But it makes a good arc introducing him with the other characters, because in a lot of ways then, we see, the other 4 members working really well together, and them kind of what's he gonna do? Oh my god, why did he do that? Or, God, I can help you, just tell me what you're doing. There's a lot of interactions where it's clear that if they knew each other better, they'd work a lot better together, but because they don't...
Yeah. I mean, you get to see, but the nice thing is that as time progresses throughout the episodes, you do still get to see them develop as characters and everything like that.
Well, that's definitely what leads into the next arc. So the next arc is Venice, basically.
Yeah.
I've been calling it Venice. I know it's not. It's Watertown, but canals,
It's
etc.
Venice.
It's Venice.
Yes.
And in Venice, you can definitely tell that there's been a chunk of time in which they've adventured together
Yeah.
between this like goblin ruins and Venice, because they know each other's like spells, equipment. They know what each other can do, and obviously they've been in at least 3 different situations with Goblin Slayer. One in which he used water, one in which he used fire, and one in which he used poison. And when I say water, I specifically mean waterboarding, not what he did in the ruins. So they've obviously been on at least 3 different adventures because they ban him from using
And
those
then been
things.
scarred by his methods.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's also far more willing to work with people and
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah.
And the High Elf is far more desensitized to the... There's this second where he says something about rubbing goblin blood, and Priestess and High Elf just have this dead look in their eyes as the camera pans to them
Yeah.
over the memories of being coated in goblin blood.
Yeah.
Like, and I do mean dead look in their eyes.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of ways, Watertown was a really good arc for the whole group. Because I think it's one of the most developmental arcs towards Goblin Slayer's character.
Yeah. You definitely got most of his development within here, because you kind of learn a bit more of his backstory, like why he hates the goblins and everything like that.
And because of that, we see his tactics moving
Yes.
forward, like why he's so brutal, that kind of thing. And also because Watertown is such a diverse setting, like there's goblin Vikings and goblin pirates and big boy goblins and stuff, then we get to see so much story progression through interaction.
Mhm.
Like people coming together, understanding one another, making plans. And it all takes place over several days in world, and this whole Sword Maiden thing's going on at the same time. So it's really an involved arc, even though it's quite short. I think it's 3 episodes.
Mhm.
Also, he dies.
Yeah, he actually does die.
Like, actually fucking dies, and apparently you just fuck a virgin to come back to life.
Well, he
No,
didn't.
just
No, they didn't.
slide-
No,
no,
he's.
no,
I know,
Yeah.
I'm just making the joke here.
Yeah.
That being said, that's what I thought when he woke
Yes.
up next door. I was like, whoa, did they just... The
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah,
They-
lie with a virgin.
You sleep with a virgin, and then the sword maiden comes in and apologizes. She's like, "Well, sorry, I would have done it, but you
Because
know,
she got goblin no-no'd.
but I got goblin no-no'd."
Yeah. Which is another reference to Goblin No-No, obviously.
Yeah.
Also, the understanding of goblin tactics progresses through all of this, which is all leading up to the final arc,
Yeah.
which is the next one we're going to talk about, which I fucking loved.
Yeah.
The final arc of this show.
Yes.
So, Goblin Slayer, like, there are goblins going to attack, like, a ton of them with a goblin lord, basically, like a king.
Right.
And so he goes to the guild, and he has to ask them for help. Like, all these people that he doesn't really help because they don't fight goblins, and they don't think goblins are important. And the thing is, like, if the goblins take over the farm, they're coming for the town next. But he's also asking these people, like, essentially his co-workers,
Yeah.
for help, like, genuinely.
Fuck
Yeah.
you, pay us.
Yeah.
And kind of, it's interesting. I think in my notes I wrote, and I quote, feels these loyal hoes. These bitches are loyal. Because that's really what it is. I mean, they're kind of making excuses, and it's more explicitly stated in some cases of, like, named characters that we know. Like Heavy Warrior, they're all making excuses to agree to help Goblin Slayer, but most of them are helping him because he's helped them in some way before, or his goblin slaying has helped them in some way before, or he's not a bad person or something like that, or,
Yeah.
you know, it's more than the money.
Yeah.
For the vast majority of them.
Yeah.
And that's such a feel-good moment.
Yes. Well, so
And the tactics are...
yeah. So I'll get. I've actually. There was one other thing I did want to mention. So this kind of like circulates throughout the whole show as like an overall theme, but it's kind of stated, and the reason why like Goblin Slayer like considers like goblins like the most important priority is because, yeah, sure, there's a great big demon lord, but who's looking out for the little guy? Who's looking out for the villager out there that's going to get raided by goblins?
Also, he's not wrong in that the adventurers ignore them because they're not powerful, but in ignoring them, they breed and they produce higher classes of goblin. And the thing is, any player in any game can be overwhelmed by a horde. It doesn't matter what level you're at if the horde is big enough and strong enough. Like, I called this in my notes. I said, I get why Realm likes this, because it's basically the Demon Souls of anime. Dark Souls of anime? Kind of. But in a way, I mean, like, even at Realms level, for example, playing in Dark Souls, if you got hit with a horde of like 1,000,000 goblins, you'd absolutely be bodied by the fucking goblins.
Oh, absolutely. Even, I mean, even if you have a powerful AoE nuke spell right there, if you can't get it off, and you're just surrounded, you're bodied. There's no 1-2 ways about it.
The greatest goblin warrior ever.
Oh god, so that actually... okay, so... Should we do that story time?
Story time, everybody. So, we play D&D, all of us. We are massive weebs, and we...
Nerds. This is not what makes D&D a weeb.
No, we make D&D weebish.
Yeah, we make D&D weeb. But we played this game with this DM, and I think most of this story belongs to me, unfortunately.
Okay, let's all first agree. Goblin Slayer, like, this entire plot line was just a game that the author played or ran that was just... where the DM was just fucked up in the head. Right?
I don't see it so much, but I get why you would see it.
On one episode, when Goblin Slayer goes berserk, he literally rolls a critical.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see dice on screen when he does stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so we play D&D, and we were playing this one game, and I was fighter, big fighter boy, strongest in party, and we were in the fucking long grass. And these little goblin shits. And let me tell you, at a level 5 fighter, right? Dragonborn fighter with godlike stats, because I have incredible luck when rolling stats. Godlike fucking stats. And these fucking group of goblins is absolutely bodying me and the entire party.
No. We actually managed to do a really good job taking them out. What happened was...
the shaman ran away, made another band, and came back.
With more people. Stronger, using smarter tactics.
Yeah. And like...
at which point they bodied us, dragged us away to their little goblin cages, and it was hell trying to get out and back.
And there was this one goblin warrior, and I swear to God, the DM must have been fudging some rolls, because there's no fucking way that I wasn't hitting his armor class and utterly he was a single goblin. I had like a +7 to hit, and he never got hit. Like, I think I rolled like a 19 a few times, and I didn't hit him.
The greatest of goblin warriors.
He was the greatest.
He might have had an inspiration.
He would have needed like 20 for that encounter.
At which point the DM, because we kept failing to kill this group of goblins, kept
called
sending
him the greatest of goblin warriors.
Alongside a goblin shaman who stole my shit.
And she took my teeth. My necklace of teeth of everything I'd killed. I liked those.
And then by the end, they just became the Team Rocket of the campaign.
Yeah.
I'm very mad about that. Okay, story time over for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was definitely an interesting story. And I will say that the progression up to the final arc is pretty linear, and it makes sense. And I really like the final arc because we see tactics on the side of the goblins, and then we see even more tactics on the side of Goblin Slayer, and we see everyone in the Adventurers Guild trusting Goblin Slayer to tell them where to be and what to do.
I mean, he's a bit of a weirdo, but if you can trust him about anything, it's about goblins.
Yeah. But also, like, none of these adventurers, like, even if they're, like, cocky, like, none of them's like, nah, I'm gonna do this my way. I'm stronger. I'm taking over.
They're like, oh, okay, you know what, this makes sense.
Yeah. Like, it's pretty chill. I love it.
Yeah.
Only, like, the beginners who haven't experienced any of that shit are the ones who just don't trust him at all.
I mean, even the beginners trust him pretty well. They do what he says, and they don't. None of them really fail at their jobs.
Oh God, I love that episode where they get the beginner's like, "We lost our sword. What should we do? You're good at fighting in caves. A club."
Oh my God, yes. I think in my notes, I have something about that. I think I wrote Club Chan is best Chan. Yeah, good for Club Kun.
And then he goes in and he starts beating what's effectively these giant cockroaches with a club.
Yeah, and rats.
Yeah, and giant ass rats.
Okay, but like, name me one thing that blunt force trauma will not eventually kill. One thing that eventually blunt force trauma will not kill.
I mean, I would have thought that roach would have been hard to take down, honestly.
I don't know. I mean, here, to quote every single Bleach fan about Kenpachi, if violence isn't solving your problem, you're not using enough of it. And that is the motto of this show. If violence is not solving their problem, just do more violence.
Exactly.
Gas. A gaseous cloud.
Yeah,
Where?
but even with the gaseous cloud, they still go through and, like, violently beat or stab them to death.
Yeah.
Just to be sure. Also, I love the necropolis in the Water City. I just want to put that out there as, like, a setting. I thought having, like, an underground kind of water-based necropolis was pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
As a setting. Yeah, and I like Lizard Man's journey to the cheese.
Yes.
Journey to the source of the cheese.
The source of cheese.
Because, like, I feel it, man.
The gods. The gods. The nectar of the gods.
Yeah, I think I wrote, I feel it, my boy who shares my love of cheese.
And ice cream. He likes ice cream
Yeah,
too.
well,
Yeah.
ice cream is just cold cheese.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's churned milk. It's cold cheese.
Yeah.
That is horrifying. That is a cursed thought, because there is cheese ice cream.
Cursed.
Cursed thought.
Yeah.
All right, we want to move on to characters then, guys?
I think we should.
I think we're
Yeah.
ready. See you next time, folks.
Like, comment, subscribe.